Mr. Graver and Ms. Zorb out tonight, I will start our meeting. If you could please stand for the prayer and pledge. God our Father, we are all your servants. We trust in your mercy and love. We trust also in your guidance. Direct the meetings of this council of North College Hill to make the good decisions for all the people who live in our city. Give all our members of this council wisdom and insight to know what is best for our city. Help us to be fair and just in all our decisions. Bless us all to do the very best we can. With your help and guidance, we pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I love seeing them so.
So, thank you. Council, I'll bring the meeting to order. To start, we'll start with roll call. Zorb, Gaston,
Here.
Chichester,
Here.
Alexander,
Here.
Wilson,
Present.
Mr. Davis,
Here.
Ms. Underwood.
Here.
I did receive notification from Mr. Graver that Ms. Zorb did notify him that Ms. Zorb would not be present tonight.
I move that we excuse Mr. Graver and Ms. Zorb from this evening's meeting. I did receive notice from Mr. Graver that he would not be here today.
I'll second that, sorry.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Hedger, will you call the roll?
Yes, I'll call it a roll. Ms. Gaston,
Yes.
Ms. Chichester,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0. To bring us to the next part of the agenda, we will need council to elect a presiding officer for this meeting. And that's up to you guys.
I'd like to make a motion. Mr. Hedger. I would like to elect Ms. Underwood to lead the meeting.
Mr. Hedger, I'll second that as well.
All right. We have a motion on the floor from Mr. Wilson and a second by Ms. Chichester to elect Ms. Underwood as the presiding officer for tonight's meeting. Ms. Gaston,
Yes.
Ms. Chichester,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0.
Okay, I'm not moving.
You want to pass down the gavel?
Just pass down the gavel.
So what I will say is next we need to, it's my understanding that we may have an amendment to the agenda.
Yep. Ms. Underwood, if you could, I would appreciate if someone could make a motion for an executive session to discuss the employment and compensation of a public employee. It shouldn't be very long. I think it'll just help the meeting run smoother if we did that first and then came out.
Ms. President.
Matt?
Where would you, Mr. Dieters, where would you like for that to be?
Right now.
Okay, I need a motion.
Madam President, or Madam Underwood?
I heard Mr. Wilson.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion that we move to executive session.
Okay,
Need to amend the agenda.
you have to read the language.
Shouldn't we amend it first?
I believe Mr. Dieter was going to read the language for me.
He is not, because he cannot. You need to read the language.
Yeah, he can say it, just as long as it says to consider the appointment or compensation of a public employee.
To consider the appointment or compensation of a public employee. Make it that simple.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
is there a second?
I second. Oh, yeah.
We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Wilson to add an executive session to the agenda. Where would you like to add that, Mr. Wilson?
Now.
Okay. To add an executive session to the agenda right now, and a second by Ms. Chichester. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
I second.
It was Ms. Gaston's.
Oh, Ms.
She beat me
Gaston,
to it.
I
Yes.
apologize.
That's okay.
A second
Just
by
for-
Ms. Gaston. Any discussion? Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Gaston.
Yes.
Ms. Chichester.
Yes.
Ms. Alexander.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed, 5-0.
We will now move into executive session. Bring the meeting, or call the meeting back to order. So the next thing on our agenda is to approve the agenda.
Madam President,
Yes, Ms. Gaston.
I would like to approve the agenda as is. Madam President,
Yes, Ms. Chichester.
I would like to second that.
We have a motion by Ms. Gaston to approve the agenda with a second from Ms. Chichester. Any discussion? Mr.
Madam,
Hedger, please call.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mayor Nichols.
I would ask that council would amend the agenda. I'm not sure if Mr. Hedger has this ordinance.
No, they're going to approve this one and then amend it.
And then amend it?
Yes.
Okay, I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Any other discussion? Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Gaston.
Yes.
Ms. Chichester.
Yes.
Ms. Alexander.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed, 6-0.
Madam President,
Who was that? Was that Ms.
Chichester.
Ms. Chichester?
I'd like to make a motion that we amend the agenda. Madam President,
Amended how?
add the legislation for ordinance to amend and establish salaries and staffing levels for city employees pursuant to the requirements of Section 3.06 of the City of North College Hill Charter.
Mr. Hedger, do we have a ordinance number for that?
Nope. Is it 56?
I think it is 6.
Madam President,
Yes.
ordinance 1.
Ordinance 1.
Oh, ordinance.
Okay.
It's not a resolution. It's an ordinance.
Okay.
Ordinance 1.
I have a motion by Ms. Chichester. Do I have a second?
Madam President,
Yes, Ms. Alexander.
I'll second that.
I have a motion from Ms. Chichester to add ordinance 1-2025 to the agenda, with a second from Ms. Alexander. Are we adding that under legislation?
Yes.
Is there any discussion? Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Gaston.
Yes.
Ms. Chichester.
Yes.
Ms. Alexander.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed, 6-0.
Okay, next on the agenda are the minutes from March 17th of 2025.
Madam President,
Yes, Ms. Alexander.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes.
Like to motion that we second it.
Thank you. I have a motion by Ms. Alexander and a second by Mr. Davis that we approve the minutes from March 17th, 2025. Any discussion? Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Gaston,
Yes.
Ms. Chichester,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
Next on our agenda is communication. Mr. Hedger?
Thank you, Madam President. I did want to let council know that the contract for Iron Mountain has been executed. We also had our scanning day. I wanted to thank Ms. Alexander and Mr. Wilson and Ms. Zorb and Mr. Graver for coming there and offering their help. It was a significant amount of work, an undertaking. We did get through 1990 through 2025. We did not complete the 80s or the 70s or 60s. So I'm leaving that up to council if they would like us to continue and add another day of organizing those documents to prepare for scanning, or if we put those back into filing. I leave that up to council to decide. Other than that, that is all the announcements that I have.
Thank you, Mr. Hedger. Next on our agenda is council committees. We'll start with City, Community Development, and Recreation.
Madam President.
Yes, Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, so City Community Development, we had a special meeting for March 31st. In that meeting, we was looking for an update with the Recreation Committee. We also received an update about the sponsor letters from our Recreation Director, Mrs. Claire, I apologize. So we also had a discussion about the sports league for North College Hill. We moved to executive session. We had a discussion about the party in the parks, fireworks with Ms. Chichester. Just an update on events. Like I said, prior to that, we moved to after that. I'm sorry, we moved to an executive session, and then we ended our meeting. We had new business and an announcement by Ms. Chichester that went out to anyone that desired any specific resources for our resource fair to please reach out to her. And then we adjourned at 7:36 p.m. Our next meeting will be April the 14th at 7 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Next is Budget and Finance.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. So we haven't met since our March 17th, I believe was the date meeting, and our next meeting will be April 14th. I gave the update at the last meeting that we talked about the fire levy, the budget, Iron Mountain legislation, and we talked about the city center cleanup as well at the last Budget and Finance meeting. And my next meeting is April 14th at 7:30.
Thank you, Ms. Chichester. Next is Rules and Public Policy. That is my committee. We haven't met since our meeting in March. Our next meeting will be April 14th at 6 p.m. Next is Public Safety, also my committee. We haven't met since our meeting in March. Our next meeting will be April 14th at 6:30 p.m. Are there any ad hoc reports? Hearing none, we'll move to administrative reports. We'll start with the mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing I have is I received an email in regards to the Juneteenth celebration, and they are looking for volunteers to help celebrate that day. They're looking for people who want to just volunteer and help. They're looking for people to participate, whether it's a band, a car, if you have cars, if you, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. They're welcoming families, friends, and all neighbors. They are looking for marching bands, local organizations, different groups to participate. So if anyone is interested, you can contact Ronna Bratchett at, she works at the high school, I believe. So there's also a parade sign up that they have. You can contact Ms. Clear as well if anyone is interested in participating or volunteering. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Next, we have the city administrator.
Hello, everyone. I sent out to council two things. One, I sent the volleyball schedule for our senior volleyball team and their home games. Those competitions get fierce. So if you guys can make it or look down the schedule and try to make it and support our seniors in their cheer volleyball, that would be great. I also sent you all an email regarding the computers with 3 different options. The costs, the memory, everything. You guys need to make a decision on that moving forward if you want to get new devices. And I did check into trading in those devices, the ones that are old. We would not be able to trade them in from where we purchased, but we could possibly donate them for usage for like the youth or even some of the seniors here. In July, they're having a technology day where they get to learn how to use their phones, and some of them would, I'm sure, be honored to have some sort of device. Then I don't know if you all noticed that we got moving on the construction over here at College Station. That's exciting. That's the new pickleball location over here. I'm super excited about that. The development, you guys can look over here at Dunkin' Donuts. Just development in our city means the right direction and the right steps forward. So I'm super excited about that. The Paw Paw Book Club meeting is 4/17 at 6 p.m. That's actually next Monday. I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that. Miss Yvette asked me to make sure that you all were aware of that. And then we had a Habitat for Humanity dedication that Mayor was invited to speak to, but she was not able to attend, so I attended in her place. And I'd like to welcome that family. I will reserve names and addresses, but we have 3 more coming April the 11th. That's actually this Friday. I received an email, and they are extending an invitation for council members to come out and help dedicate those 3 more homes. These are brand new homes, and it's a good program to just make sure that we are encouraging home ownership, which we desperately need in North College Hill. So on the home ownership tip, I was able to do the percentage of rental over again with the rental registration, and we are currently at 48%. And I was checking with some of our neighboring cities. We're actually doing pretty good. I know that we're always super alarmed by that, and we want to definitely decrease that renter and encourage home ownership, but some of our neighboring cities are as high as 78%. So we're ticking in the right direction. And if you remember, we've actually come down a bit. So we're ticking in the right direction. That's all.
Madam President.
Thank you.
Madam President, I have a question.
Who's speaking?
Chichester.
Ms. Chichester.
You said 48% rentals or 48% homeowners. Which one were we?
48% renters, I'm sorry.
Thank you. No, I missed it. I wanted to make sure I wrote it down correctly.
So we're still 52% more in the tune of home ownership, and with these Habitat for Humanity, that actually adds 4 more to the homeowner side.
Exciting.
So, and we're coming for people who don't lend or landlord to our lease to our citizens in an appropriate way, so that we can start making sure that we shift those numbers in the right direction.
Thank you, Ms. Dukestein. Next, we have the Law Director.
Ms. Underwood, I do not have any report this evening. Thank you.
Okay. And next, we have the Finance Director. She's not here today. So now we're going to move to call of members. Ms. Gaston.
Hello, everyone. Happy rainy spring. I wanted to address the survey. Last council meeting, it was stated that the survey would be included in this quarter's mayor's letter. This would have been the first opportunity for all residents to have access to the link and the QR code outside of social media, yet I too was surprised to find it missing upon receiving my copy. Despite all of that, there were some things that happened that were outside of our control, and just a few errors, but I just wanted to acknowledge that council was aware that it's not in there. I am passionate about having all of our voices heard. It is imperative that council knows the city's needs, what our neighbors are interested in, as well as encourage public engagement. Neighbors, if you have any questions, suggestions, or concerns, please reach out to any of us at our official email, and we will continue to advocate on your behalf. I just want to end with this. I would like to share a quote from a former president. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. And that's all I have.
Ms. Chichester?
Thank you, Madam President. And I'm excited about the pickleball court. I will be taking applications for pickleball partners soon. I had a question. So with the neighbors movie, the new Habitat for Humanity neighbors, did we ever start our Welcome Basket program, or Welcome to the Neighborhood program? If so, can we make sure we add them to the list? I don't know who's in charge of that. Well, me? I would love to, because that brings me to my second comment. When we did have nice weather, dry weather, I was walking around the community talking to some of my residents and just getting to know everyone. I was making my neighbors aware of an incident that happened in my home where I had to, I'm sorry, Chief Cheney isn't here to back up on this, but there was a gentleman who was in my driveway at 11:45 at night on my birthday, checking my car handles and checking my husband's truck, trying to find things. So be diligent as we have people coming into our neighborhood. You're locking your doors and just being safe. And I want to say my home has motion detection floodlights and cameras. You could see them. And this person still was very comfortable with being around on my property. And thank you to the North College Hill Police for responding as quickly as you guys did and apprehending the person. So thank you. And thank you to our guests in the audience for coming out. I love this turnout. I love that our community is involved and they're engaged. Please continue to do so. And thank you for your service. And anybody who are, I think Mr. Councilman Wilson brought it up, the community resources. I am working with different organizations, but if there's something you feel like there's a need in our community, please reach out to me, lchichester@northcollegehill.org. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Ms. Chichester. Ms. Alexander?
I'd like to thank everyone for coming this evening.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Alexander, your husband.
Yeah, husband.
Check me out.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out, and Ms. Gaston and Ms. Chichester and whoever else. I'll be happy to help with the welcome. I mean, I don't know what that looks like, but I'll be happy to help with that. And I'm excited with the beautification program that you were talking about. I can't wait to get started in that. I don't know if council is allowed to join, but you know, I'm real competitive when it comes to stuff like that. But I'll be willing to join. But just happy spring. I feel like it's coming, but you know, spring just needs to fight a little harder. But thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Mrs. Alexander. Mr. Wilson?
Yes, I would like to say thank you to everyone, first of all, for coming out. I want to say thank you to everyone in the administration department, Mayor Nichols, Ms. Dulstein, Mr. Dieters, Mr. Hedger. Appreciate your hard work. Also, Ms. Alexander. Janetta, last name? Anderson. Thank you. And Ms. Anderson, our finance director, just, want to give a shout out to them hardworking individuals in our administration office to keep us going every day. I also want to say thank you to our residents. Of course, you know, without you guys, there's no North College Hill. So, you know, appreciate y'all coming out, supporting us, listening to our arguments and our conversations about moving North College Hill forward. As I stated in my brief comments for community development and recreation, we guys are moving forward with programs to bring out more participation from our residents, and we'd like you guys to take a look. Go online. We have opportunities and stuff coming along, and we would like to see our community members volunteering and being a part of that. I would like to see y'all faces out there too. So, again, I want to say thank you for everyone that came out. Thank you to our administration. That's all I have, Mr. President.
I'm not a mister, but thank you.
No, I said
It's
Mrs.
okay.
President.
Okay.
I apologize. It
It's
sounds
okay.
Yeah, it
It's
sounds
okay.
deep.
It's fine. It's
I
all
got
right.
you.
You're fine.
Yep.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Ms. Chairwoman. Thank you, all my neighbors. On to piggyback off of what Mr. Wilson said, we're also looking for singers, performers, and, you know, potential entertainment for future Food Truck Friday and future events. Probably the best way to get in contact if you're interested in such a thing will be probably to email vwilson@northcollegehill.org. Once again, that's V as in Victor Wilson @northcollegehill.org. And furthermore, Motion NCH, that's going to be Thursday, April 10th, 6 p.m. here at the Senior Center. We're going to be, number one, preparing and making plans for future event planning, and also a commitment conversation. From the handbook that this Motion NCH thing is studying, this is a phrase: wholehearted commitment makes a promise to people about our contribution to the success of the whole. It's centered in two questions: what promise am I willing to make, and what is the price I am willing to pay for the success of the whole effort? It's a promise for the sake of a larger purpose, not for the sake of personal return. Once again, Motion NCH, that'll be Thursday, April 10th, 6 p.m. here at the Senior Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. And what I would like to say is I would like to remind everyone that there is an election in May, and it's a primary election, and there's an election in November. To that end, what you may find are political candidates who are walking around the neighborhood to knock on your door because they need signatures of resident electors in order to even make the ballot. So we have quite a few judicial candidates running this year. And those individuals are likely to just kind of walk around, knock on doors to get signatures, or leave some kind of literature at your door. So I would just like for everyone to be mindful of that, as well as there are 5 members of council, as well as the president of North College Hill City Council, that will be running for re-election or election in November of 2025. So you may see members of council walking around the neighborhood as well to get signatures on they're called nominating petitions. So if you see that and you have a question, they are your elected officials. They work for you. Come outside and stop them. Have a conversation. I encourage you to do that. So just know that they're not prowlers or anything like that. They're just getting signatures so that they can get on the ballot. And, and if you don't like something that somebody's doing or you don't want them on the ballot, feel free to just say no, thank you. And that is how you express your support or non-support. It is with your vote. So I am a big advocate of voting. Voting is super, super important. And when you vote every time, the Board of Elections reports that to elected officials. So your door will probably get knocked on. So just be patient with those politicians who are and make them earn your vote.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's all I have. Mr. Hedger, are there any Next, we have remarks from the audience. Mr. Hedger, do we have anyone signed in to speak?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes. First, we have Will Scott from the DAV.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I been coming to all these chapter meetings, and as you see, we want all members here tonight. And I'm just hoping and praying that, we can get back in our room and get it cleaned up so we can come back home, and Mayor Nichols, I address this to you. Is there any way possible that we can get back and get our room straightened up, get it cleaned back up? We've had 2 windows that was broke out. They got in there and they threw stuff all over the floor and just messed our room completely up,
So I know we're working to get, depending on, what council does as far as clean up, we have to clean it up. So you're looking or asking for a particular timeline sooner than we can get in. So my concern with you going in prior to the asbestos and mold being cleaned is the health risk. We don't want anyone to become sick as a result of going into the building until the asbestos and mold is removed. I do understand your concern. What we can do is look into whether or not it's safe for you to go in there and to clean it up before the project is done.
Well, the 2 windows have to be replaced, and maintenance would have to do that because they broke out.
Did they,
They got boards up
they
there
boarded
now.
it up?
They boarded it up, yeah.
So are you saying that you're going to fix the window, or I'm trying to understand what is the procedure with it being boarded up?
Well, hopefully that maintenance can do that, because we have to get in there and clean it up. I mean, they just pretty much destroyed where we at. I mean, they threw stuff all over the floor and it's gonna take time for us to get in there and clean it up, I mean, we'll be willing to spend our own money to clean it up,
I'm not so the financial piece is not the issue, it's the health concern that I have. That's the concern that I have with anyone going into the building primarily based on the reason that we had to vacate the building. The mold and asbestos is still there. We are working to get it cleaned up. I would feel better, and I understand the concerns of the things that are in there, without any real direction from someone who works in that type of environment. I don't think it's safe for you to go in there before it's cleaned up. Now, I will ask, Mr. Dieters, is there any type of liability that the city would be at if they were to go in there prior to the asbestos and mold being cleaned?
We'd have to get an opinion from someone who would be qualified to say if they could go in and whether they could wear respirators or something like that when they did it. That's possible, but I don't know I'm not
Okay.
sure of the science
Are you
behind it.
willing to allow us to do that to make sure before you go in?
Yeah, but we looking at a timeline. We've gone since March of last year, and if it protrudes to go any further, then I mean, here we got spring coming up, we got summer, and we, like I said, we was there before, and we never had no problems. We was going in there, and for yourself. We was cooking breakfast and stuff like that. We was having our meetings there, and we never had no problems.
So don't be mistaken, we want you back in there, but we just want it to be a safe environment for you.
I understand.
And we don't want to be, as a city, at a liability with allowing someone to go in. Ms. Dukestein, do you have an estimated time of when project will start with the cleanup?
So the piece of legislation is on the readings tonight. As soon as you all move on that, we can get started.
Madam President,
Yes, Mrs. Alexander.
just for clarification, sir, are you wanting to know not necessarily just when you can get in there to clean up? You want to know when you all can return and, and have your functions? Is that, just for clarification? I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah,
It's
we-
not just for cleanup, just
Yeah, we have to,
you want to be in there and.
yeah, the window has to be fixed. We have to get in there and clean that room up because they destroyed it. They actually destroyed it. They threw stuff all over the floor, and we got money set aside. We got $6,000 set aside to put a new floor in, and
I'm so sorry to hear that.
we can't, we in limbo right now.
Right.
Madam President.
Built us a new desk, put this logo on the back, they laminate, it's a nice desk, so. To be honest with y'all, we don't want to go nowhere. We've been there, I've been a member of this chapter since 2017, and we got a new commander, Commander Thomas sitting right there. I was commander, and we just elected him as new commander, so we want to move in the right direction so we can stay there to help y'all out, to do things that we want to continue to do,
What we can do is look into getting an opinion. Hopefully, we can find something to be done by the end of this week or next
Ms.
week.
Dukestein mentioned.
So thank you so much, Mr. Scott. I wanted to say that I have told council about the monies that you had for the floor to aid in the rehab of the building in the Budget and Finance meeting. So to give you a more applicable timeline. So if we were to go in there and clean up, you guys could probably go in at probably about the 6 week to 8 week mark to clean up. And that is with us starting the project. To return to the building based on making sure we can get in on the timing that the timing that we said. I did not expect for the piece of legislation to kind of be prolonged as it has been, but it is what it is. From there, as long as we can get the construction schedule, we should be able to get you back in the building at the 4 to 5 month mark. However, I will check into by the end of the week to see if you possibly could enter the building with some kind of face mask or respirators if you just want to get cleaned up. So I will reach out to you. I have your card by the end of the week.
Okay.
Madam President,
Yes, Ms. Chichester.
I believe the Historical Society had asked the same thing at one point at a different meeting.
Okay, so what I will tell my colleagues sitting at this table is that we need to, I'm not going to say what the saying is, but many of the people in the
Right.
audience know what the saying is about sitting on a pot and that kind of thing. We need to make a decision about that building.
Absolutely.
There are people who are depending on us for that. So up or down, right or left, wrong or right, we need to make a decision. So sometimes the decisions you make are not always the right decision, but at least you made one. And that's what we need to do. So,
Madam President.
no, okay, Mr. Wilson, but we don't need to go round and round. Okay, but Mr. Wilson.
So, just to save y'all the headache, if they wanted to get into the building, they would need respirators. They need to put on a face mask. I could tell you this because I've been in the building on 3 different occasions, and each time I went into the building, I was required to put on face masks. So you have to have face masks in order to get into the building. Is it a good interest to do so? No. Let us do what we got to do so we can move forward in a way we can start getting the ball rolling with everybody getting this building where we need it to be, so that way we can stop having the same conversation.
Okay.
All right.
But like I said, we also got the women's auxiliary. They gone too, so, and we are all three, us, the women's auxiliary, and we all
Historical
out.
Society.
So.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Mr. Hedger?
Next, we have Rashonda Joyner.
Oh, okay. I just got to move it down. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm a resident of North College Hill for about 4 years, since 2021. I live at 1625 West Belmar Place. And for the last 4 years, we have been getting flooded in our backyard from a storm drain. And I know I've emailed quite a few of you. Some faces are new. But we're wondering where we are in this process of getting this problem fixed. Because, yeah, I'm at my wits. I'm like, you know, I'm about to crash out. So,
Okay.
if you want to see videos and pictures of all that's been damaged, the water that we get in our backyard, we currently did get a flood this past week with all the rain. But yes.
Ms. Joyner, first of
yes.
all, I'm going to apologize to you because we actually did start the research into this issue last year, but as you may or may not be aware, we've had a little turnover with some key positions. I'm not sure where that research landed, but I do know, as I recall, we were moving
Madam
to
Chair.
try to, okay, Madam Mayor.
So I did receive an email, I believe it was from your mother. And when I saw it, I looked back through my things to see if I got something from our previous city administrator who was supposed to spearhead that. When I didn't find anything, I reached out to our Ms. Dukes Dean to see if she could get in contact with our Public Works Department to see where they were with that project. And so I did just ask her, and I don't want to speak for her, so I'll let her.
Okay. So I also apologize because I was sitting on council when I remember that you came and we were talking about this, and then there was a fiasco where the resident or citizen had probably poured concrete down there. And so what we're hoping to do is to get cameras down there to see exactly where the blockage is. I have began working on that this week because of all the floods and the rain and the storming. And I would like to publicly thank our Public Works Department. They have been cutting down trees and doing all of the cleanup work from the storms, but that is definitely something on their prioritization list in terms of getting cameras down the drain to make sure, to see exactly what we can do. Because of the void in this position, it didn't get moved on, but I am moving on it. And you can call me personally to continue to follow up, and I can also call you. I have your information that was forwarded on to me.
Okay.
So let's check back in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I can check with you, you can check with me.
Okay.
And I, again, apologize sincerely. And that's just not city administrator, that's homeowner to homeowner. I can understand the frustration, and I'm sorry.
And Ms. Joyner, I know it's been very difficult, and we do apologize. We absolutely do apologize. I know you guys have had some tremendous loss, and as a homeowner myself, I could not imagine. We want to try to do whatever we can as a city to, combat and to help you. As you know, without saying it, the roadblock that we've had in trying to get in that area prior to. We can even go back to that particular homeowner to see if at this particular point we can gain access. I'm not sure what that looks like, but we'll try to do whatever we can to try to help you guys in that manner.
I would just ask for just communication along the way, because that's where I feel like a lot of things have fallen through. There's been lack of communication on what's going on. If we need to do something on our end, I'm always willing to do whatever I need to do on my end. So just keeping that communication line open, whether it's email, calling, whatever that may look like moving forward.
I did add Ms. Dukestein to the email when I responded back to your mom through our but I'm sure you can get Ms. Dukestein's telephone number.
Okay.
And I don't mind calls.
Yeah.
I answer.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Joyner, I will make sure that I harass my colleagues about this issue the same way I harassed them about Prospect Place, which is now paved over. Thank you very much. So I will make it my business to be annoying until we address the issue. Okay? Mr. Hedger?
Kathy Cureton.
I'm no stranger here, 6718 Devonwood Drive. I want to first say, Miss Underwood, I don't know if you were prepped for this, but you are doing an amazing job tonight. I am appreciating your thoroughness, how quick you are to make sure order maintains. And so as a resident of North College Hill, I appreciate you as an elected official. A couple of questions I want to ask this evening. And first, let me also say, DAV, thank you for your service. Thank you for being here. And I pray and hope that all you all have done for this city does not go in vain. I pray and hope that you all find a home sooner than later. I pray and hope that the right people make the right decisions that are best for this city of North College Hill going forward. So, Mayor Nichols, good evening. Can you tell me who is enforcing the codified ordinances currently for the city?
Depending on which ordinance you're referring to, there are several
Great.
codified ordinances.
The 2025 rental property agreement.
Well, they come in and they pay it. So once we figure out who's not paid, Ms. Clear was working on it. I believe now Mr. Torrey
Okay.
is sending out the information.
So do we have a list of those? Because I think the fee is 150 or 200
You have
annually.
a list of what?
According to the document, it states that every renter of this city has to pay a fee.
$150.
That's correct. So do you have a list stating who has and who has not?
I don't have a list, but I'm sure we can get that because that's how they're assessed.
So how is Mr. Torrey enforcing it if he doesn't
You would
have
have
a
to
list?
ask Mr. Torrey. I'm not sure what his process is, what he does.
Would
But
you-
I do know that a mailing goes out and then they come in.
Would you be able to follow up with Mr. Torrey and then provide an update 2 weeks from today?
That's fine. I won't be here. I don't
That's
believe in 2
fine.
weeks. Mr. Torrey does have a list of who. If I had to guess, I would say he has a list of everyone who owes, and when they come, he checks. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure what
So-
I can't tell you what his policy, his procedure is.
Right.
No.
So when I'm looking at this big picture, I'm not talking about Jane Doe who lives at 123 Main Street. I'm referring to these big companies that come into North College Hill, buy up tons of property, or make the rent sky high, and then don't pay their due diligence.
Okay.
So that's my concern.
I'm sorry, Ms. Curitin.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Yes, no problem.
I'm trying to move this along.
Yes, ma'am. And then the other
We actually
question.
do have a process in place,
Oh,
right? There's a
okay.
deadline that has to be paid. If it is not paid, it is assessed to the property taxes.
Got
So
it.
what
That's
you'll
answers
hear
my
at the
question.
end of toward the end of the year, you'll hear council saying that something is assessed to a particular property and those addresses are actually on the agenda.
Perfect.
So if you look at our historical agendas, you can actually see
Perfect.
those assessments. So there's a deadline. If it's not met, it's assessed to the property taxes.
Perfect. No follow-up. She answered it. And then the last question that I do have this evening is, how do we bring life to our socials? I was looking over our socials and they're really dry. And let me just define dry. Like there's nothing happening about what's going on in our city. I think we're still having Food Truck Fridays. That would be something to post on the city or any upcoming events. The only things I've seen are when there have been cancellations, delays, or closures. So I'm wondering, how do we bring some life to our socials? And we can just simply start with Facebook. Ms. Dusting, if you can answer that, because we're making eye contact. Thanks.
Do we even have an official Facebook page?
We do.
Okay.
And so when I would be honest and say, yes, our socials are kind of, social media pages are not as active as we would like. I plan to get to that. Some of the other stuff that is taking more precedence, more serious matters have impeded kind of, progress. So it's coming. I would say, hold me to it. It's coming. I don't have a
Okay.
choice. Hold me to it.
All right. So, Mr. Hedger, It looks like we've now reached legislation.
Second reading, resolution number 3, 2025, a resolution to proceed with expressing the city's council's intent to renovate the city building located at 1500 Galbraith Road.
Madam President,
Yes, Ms. Chichester.
I would like to make a motion to suspend the third, we're on the second, right? This third reading of this.
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Wilson.
I'd like to second.
I have a motion from Ms. Chichester and a second from Mr. Wilson to suspend the second reading for resolution number 3-2025. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Okay, I heard several voices. Mrs. Alexander?
Ms. Chichester, did you say the second and third reading?
Well, we're on the second reading at this
Okay.
time,
All
so
right, I
the
was just
third
getting
reading.
clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
as to
Yeah, she
what you
said
actually
second. I
said.
was gonna correct that too. It's the
Okay.
suspend the third reading so that we can move it to a vote.
Okay, and Ms. Gaston?
I have two questions. I'm sorry, I made a note. So on March 11th, I sent an email to the city administrator about the 1500 building. I asked a question. She had mentioned that the building has really good bones. The building is solid and in good health. And she mentioned that there was an assessor that came out and looked at that, and I had asked for us to have a copy of those documents, as well as other quotes and things of what it would look like. And I would just like to have some time so that that can be presented to us. So that's number one, if we can get that. And number two, during October of 2024, council met, and there was a question to Mr. Dieters from Councilwoman Zorb about the resolution 15-2024, which is now resolution 3 of 2025. And the question was to Mr. Dieters if there was if we necessarily needed to have this to move forward with intent, if we could still get the estimates, clean the mold and asbestos, definitely, so that these gentlemen can come in. And Mr. Dieters responded that he wasn't sure if we legally needed this piece of legislation. So my second question today is, Mr. Dieters, do we need legislation to move forward with getting estimates?
I think what I said is I don't think you necessarily need a legislation to get estimates, but that the process of going through all that, if council's intent is not to utilize the building, to go through estimates, to get appraisals, to go through all that, would seem to be not a wise decision if you're not going to use it, because it would be a use of city resources and possibly money. But in order to just get estimates, you don't need council approval. But I think the whole point was that the administration was looking for direction and vision, that the direction council wanted to go from a bigger picture, not to just get estimates, is what do you want to do with the building? If you recall, I said it was my recommendation to do a request for proposals from architectural firms that specialize in public buildings. They have a vested interest in helping you, because if I'm an architect and I build schools or I build city buildings, if you don't have the money to build the buildings, then I don't get paid, right? So those firms are very good at being able to find grants. They're very good at helping governmental entities look at raising money, whether that be through bond issues or something like that. If you know, my vision for you, and I've been saying this for quite some time, but I don't know why it's not happening, is that that we would do a request for proposals, that we would have a committee go through those proposals, maybe get it down to 2 different firms, have those firms come before council, and each have maybe 15 or 20 minutes to present on what their plan would be. And then part of those things would be, is the building usable? Is it not usable? We're willing to do focus groups to bring people in to say, what does this community want? What kind of uses can this building have? Is it okay the way it exists? Can it be changed? Can it be modified? Is there spaces for groups like DAV or the Historical Society? Is there space that could be built for, maybe the community needs more daycare facilities for working parents? Like, all of those things would be out there, and they could talk to you about it. And they could say, now, if you did that, you know, maybe we could do it in phases, maybe phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. We just don't have any vision. And I think the administration is asking council to say, where do you want to go with this? I mean, we can get an estimate, sure. We could have somebody come in and clean up some asbestos, but the roof on one side of the building's still not fixed. So we'll clean it up, and next time it rains, we're going right back where we are again. So there's just no big picture thought process involved. And I think that that's where we're trying to, I don't want to speak for Arias and the mayor, but I think that's what they're trying to get you to do. So what do you want to do with this thing? How do you want to move forward?
Madam President.
Okay, I heard several voices. So I think I heard Mrs. Alexander and Mrs. Chichester. So we'll go in that order.
Question about this legislature. As it's reading now, it says to renovate. If that process is started and it's deemed, you know, in the process, no, this is a bad idea, what is the process of reverting back and saying, okay, we thought we were going to move forward with renovating. We see maybe it doesn't have good bones. Can we then change it and say, hey, we going to, you know, we still have to clean it. Can we knock it down? Or is this like, hey, once you get to it, you stick with it?
Well, I think if you look at section 1, it just says begin the process of exploration of design and financing for the abatement of environmental issues and the improvement. So it's just, is it even doable? All we're doing right now is, can we begin the formal process of asking the question?
Madam President.
Does not say that.
I'm sorry.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, that.
Yeah, so
Actually,
we're not making any final decision. We're just saying, is it worth spending the money to even find out what we can or can't do?
Madam President.
I had Mrs. Chichester
Yes.
and then Ms. Dukestein.
So Ms. Dukestein may be the one to answer my question. So it's my understanding when it says, it is saying intent to renovate, we're making not intent to renovate the whole building. We're making the intent for the cleanup of the building so that organizations like the DFV can get in there after that, so we can mediate the environmental concerns so that we can say, okay, no matter what, we have to mediate the environmental concerns, step 1. Then step 2, we decide what we're doing from that point. Are we going to renovate? Are we going to?
That's the whole thing.
Right.
All those questions
So-
are still up there. So I don't pay
But
too
I
much
think this legislation, I'm sorry, Mr. Dieters, I think this legislation on the table is just starting for step 1.
it's not even step 1, it's a half a step.
Right. Well, I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to
But
push the boulder
just,
up the
just
hill a
look
little
at
bit.
section 1, underneath
Right.
section 1. That's the only thing you're doing. That's
Right.
the only part of
So-
this that says anything what council's doing. It's just saying you want to start exploring it.
We can discuss all the
Yes.
future planning and what it's going to house, what we're going to do with this part, but we have to start here. In order to start here, we have to start, before you make the decision. You can't pass go, you can't collect $200 until you actually roll the dice. We just actually need to roll the dice so that these organizations can get in there and get things done. We can't do anything until we fix the mold and fix the asbestos. So this is what we're doing for this step. This is not the nail in the coffin of what are we going to do from this point with the building, who's going to all be housed in there. We just need to start with the intent.
Ms. Dukestein?
So I wanted to address, even though Ms. Gaston wasn't actually, I just want to present a timeline. So she had emailed me on the 11th. We had our budget and finance meeting on the 10th. Those documents that she's asking for, whether you guys move forward on this document tonight, will be on budget and finance. So even if you say yes, that's not going to stop the process of me presenting or giving that information. Part of the reason that this intent came up is because we have a choice to make. We have to start looking at whether you will renovate the building or not. Again, if we find, I'm not personally going to have on my shoulders as city administrator spending money to renovate a building that's garbage or trash. I don't want that in my own legacy here. So yes, at any point that it is not in the city's best interest, it will definitely be presented to council to say, hey, this is not where we need to pour lots and lots of city dollars, for sure. But it kind of came up that we have the asbestos abatement, and then we have the mold removal. And there was a particular council member that had mentioned, like, hey, we don't have to necessarily remove the mold if we're going to not restore the building. We just have to abate the asbestos. If you just abate the asbestos and you do not remediate the mold at the same time, you're going to get double the cost, which is going to set the project dollars back. In addition to the fact, if we don't start moving on, digging in, there's only so much you can see by observing. People have to actually get in there and start pulling stuff apart to see where the damage is. It's only getting worse. More and more rain is exacerbating the issue. We need to move on this quickly, but I can't do some things without you having the intent to remediate, because there would be no reason for me to go forward and asking for or dealing with the mold or remediation if your intent is not there. If we decided as a group, and that's not my decision to make, that it is too costly and it is not worth saving to go forward with rehabilitating the building, that will again be your choice per the information given to you all. Today, what we're trying to do is get in there, get cleaned up. If we were to go forward stealthily with this process, we could get to a clean slate in 4 to 5 months per the schedule of something. That's how long the estimate is going to take to get to a clean slate. At least that's not phase 2 of putting actual recreation in the building. That is getting us to a white slate to at least save and stop the damage, the continued damage. There are some other things other than just the cost of resources that we're facing. So it is also that if we do not do anything with that building, as DAV said, windows have been busted out and boarded up. At some point, we're going to have to pee on the pot or get off. And I know Erica didn't want to say that. But if we don't do something, we're going to have to mark that building a vacant building. To pay the insurance, we might as well get a loan, because the insurance on a vacant building is to the tune of a mortgage. So again, if we're not going to decide to move forward on renovation, then we do need to tear it down so that we're not paying other costs just to keep the building up and insure it as a vacant building. We have to make some decisions.
Madam President.
Okay, I heard Mrs. Chichester.
I just wanted to ask a question. I think at our last council meeting, we had a time frame because certain things were going to expire if we didn't do certain things by a certain date. Could you refresh my memory of that? I think it was May.
I'm sorry?
I think it was May. Was that our time frame before we had to?
It's the money that needs to be encumbered.
Yes.
We already encumbered the money. We have to we had to give a report on it March 15th. That is already done. And so we have to move on the project in by July. We have to literally start doing something.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Okay, so.
And so part of the move up of the intent is if we decide, hey, we can't renovate this building, the bones are not good, we need to move those ARPA funds to one of those other projects where the money will be good. So sitting on this is causing us not to get to the remediation or to figure out what that is, which then we have to go through a whole nother process to do something else. That's why this is important in a timely fashion.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say to everybody, because we could be here for the next hour talking about this building. But the point of this is that we've had 2 different people look at this piece of legislation and not understand what it includes and what it doesn't include. So that is a problem. So I'm just kind of pointing that out. I don't even understand what it includes or what it means. Does it include remediating the mold and remediating the asbestos, or does it include only remediating the asbestos? Have we already approached architectural firms to go in and kind of give us some estimates so we have something to look at, or is that something that we still have to do? I have no idea what this means, and I think that that's what Ms. Gaston was saying. She just wants to make a good decision, and I think that's fair. So I am not Mr. Graver, obviously, I look different, but we're done talking about this. So I have a motion on the floor, and I'm calling the question. The motion on the floor is to suspend the third reading on resolution number 3-2025 by Ms. Chichester, second by Mr. Wilson. Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Gaston,
No.
Ms. Chichester,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
No.
Motion failed 4-2.
Right, so to suspend the readings, you need 6 affirmative votes. So even if I had said yes, it still would have failed. Mr. Hedger?
Second reading resolution number 4, 2025, yard beautification competition.
Mr. Hedger?
Second reading resolution number 5, 2025, a resolution to approve the City of North College Hill comprehensive plan.
Mr. Hedger, let's move to the next one.
First reading ordinance number 1, 2025, an ordinance to amend and establish salaries and staffing levels for the city employees pursuant to the requirements of section 3.06 of the City of North College Hill Charter.
Madam President.
Actually, Mr. Davis first.
Okay.
Oh. No, just motion to suspend the second and third readings. This is motion 120. This is ordinance 12025.
Madam President.
I had Mrs. Chichester.
I was just I'll second his motion to
Okay.
suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance 1, 2025.
I have a motion on the floor by Mr. Davis to suspend the second and third reading for ordinance 1-2025 with a second by Mrs. Chichester. Is there any discussion? Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Gaston,
Yes.
Ms. Chichester,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
So now we have further remarks. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to take one step back. So the second and third readings have been suspended for ordinance 1-2025. Do I have a motion?
I have a motion that we adopt ordinance 1-2025.
Madam President,
I think I heard Mr. Wilson.
I'd like to second that motion.
I have a motion by Mrs. Alexander and a second by Mr. Wilson to adopt ordinance 1-2025. Any discussion? Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Gaston,
Yes.
Ms. Chichester,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
Okay, so now we have further remarks from the audience as it pertains to the legislation.
So So a couple of questions. I just want to clarify. You know, I keep tons of notes. I do believe that Ms. Gasson was correct, that the ordinance, or excuse me, the piece of legislation that was brought 15-2024, it was actually voted down. And at that same meeting, Mr. Dieters, I can't believe that I agree with you on this, no offense, but you actually did say, yeah, let's get like a project manager. Let's reach out to some engineers. Let's reach out to some architects. So I'm just asking, and you've sat on council and now you're the administrator, so you have the knowledge to understand the backstory. Have you gotten anything? Gotten is not the correct word. Have you received anything? Have you reached out to any architects, any engineers, anyone who is a professional in asbestos abatement, because no one in this room is, to determine what would need to happen? Have you got anything tangible? Because I work with numbers, and so at the bottom dollar, I want to know how much is this going to, I was going to say, I'm sorry, Ms. Dukestein, how much is this going to really? Sure.
So these firms have to spend a lot of time and effort to put these proposals together. And all we were trying to do is have council to say they do have an intent in looking into it seriously.
Yeah.
So the firms are willing to put the work and time in to do it. If it be like, oh, we might think about possibly someday one of these moons doing a project, they're not going to take it seriously.
Well, then that's my next question.
So that's all we're doing is asking council to make it.
So then can the, I'm not an attorney, but wouldn't we want to remove that portion that Ms. Underwood highlighted and that also Ms. Alexander highlighted? Just remove that portion of legislation that says that after we have gotten gotten is not the correct word, but received, it doesn't give anyone on administration the authoritative figure or the opportunity to say, yes, I am going to do next steps. Because it's my understanding, I'm sorry, Ms. Dukestein, it's my understanding that Burgess and Niples actually did give us some information in June of 2024. It is my understanding they told you a low cost, and they also told you a high cost. It's my understanding RWB did the same thing in June of 2024, a low cost and a high cost. It was expensive then, so how is it going to be paid? These were multi-million-dollar projects. ARPA can't cover all of it. So how will it be paid? Have you begun to just do any of the groundwork to say, council, I've answered all of your questions. I've crossed every T. Even if we don't, you can go visit, and I'll be very quick because I talk a lot. You can go visit a multi-million-dollar mansion, billion-dollar mansion in Indian Hill. It doesn't mean you're going to buy it. It's just to say, I'm showing interest in it. If the numbers don't match, you can't pursue. So I'm asking, as a taxpayer of this city, and our taxes are a little hefty, if you would be honest and open, honest, not the right word, if you'll be diligent with us and just say, this is going to cost X, Y, and Z. This is where the dollars are going to come from, X, Y, and Z. And even if the estimates from 2024, are they even still valid? I just want to know the dollars. How much at the end of the day is it going to cost us, and how it's going to be paid?
Madam President.
Ms. Dukestein, if you want to actually, before anyone else, if you can just maybe say you have it or you don't, or it's in progress.
Yes, one of the 3 quotes that we got was the reference to the one in 2023. That is a base. That was applicable when we were exploring this in 2024. Now we're in 2025 with no movement, and then I provided for you all more quotes in 2024 that are also no longer good. We are wearing out our reputation with people. We keep asking for quotes. These people have to bring loads. When I met the people out there, they brought loads of people were on our ceiling, going through our HVAC, crawling out there. You guys are, this is estimates. You've been given the information, and then you get to this and you say, and I cannot lie that I'm not frustrated. It is the intent. I cannot move forward without your permission. It's only the intent. If I cannot move without you. If you do not understand the pressingness of the timeliness of this, then I don't know what to say. Yes, there have been quotes. Yes, I have emailed it. I checked, I looked back to see if I had emailed it out. Yes, I emailed it out to most of you. No, Ms. Gaston's new. She hasn't gotten that information. So she is absent of that. However, you have what you need. If we don't move on this, I just don't know what to say. It's the intent. I cannot move outside of what you want. Council has the purse strings of $75,000, a cap. I have had people come out, but they customarily, the business, they come out, they give a certain level of estimate. They have gone through the ducks. Braden's met me out there. You can't keep asking people to come out and then there's no merit behind or no fortitude behind them coming out and you don't move on it. They've called me. They called me a couple months after. Did your council group move? Nothing. I've not been able to get anything. And so when I pick up the phone to ask again, I'm in the dead space. And so I don't know what to say.
Madam Chair, and if I could just piggyback on what she was saying,
Hold
I'm sorry.
on, but before we have order, I heard a few voices up here, but I'm going to remind everybody that you get one chance to speak, and that's it, because we don't want to be here all night. So I think I heard Mr. Wilson's voice.
So I'm going to state this, Madam President. You know, the same frustration that Ms. Dukestein has, I have the same frustration, because this it's not rocket science, people. All they're asking us is the intent. What is our intent? I don't see what the problem is. Why can't we give these people the key to figure out what we're going to do with our building? I don't see the headache.
Okay, so Mr. Wilson, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Does renovate include remediate mold and asbestos, or one? Or does it just mean remediate the mold? Or does it mean just to only remediate the asbestos?
So, to be honest, it should be to cover both removal of the remediation of the asbestos and the removal of the mold, because bottom line, at the end of the day, if we're going to use this building, it has to be clean and safe. So we got to remove both of the problems that's in the building, and we keep sitting on it and looking at it and looking at it. We're adding more and more and more, because the more we keep sitting and looking at it, the more it keeps raining, the more that the mold keeps growing, the more that the asbestos is getting worse. Like, come on, it's not rocket science. All they're asking from us is to give them the key to move forward with repairing this building.
Okay.
Ms. Underwood,
I heard.
one thing just from a legal perspective, the only thing in a piece of legislation that is legally binding on council is what comes after the now therefore be it ordained or resolved. The only thing that the city administration is asking for is the ability to seriously explore what the options are. I think your question is a very good question. The asbestos has to be abated whether you tear the building down or you go back in it. That's a no-brainer. But the mold, if we tear the building down, we would not spend the money to abate the mold. We just tear the building down. So part of exploring it is it usable? What can it be used for? What are the prices going to be to do it? And then therefore some of those issues regarding abatements would come from there. Now the asbestos abatement, even if you tear it down, you have to do the same abatement you do if you repair it. But the mold you wouldn't do, right? So I perhaps maybe the language could be more precise, but the only thing that you're binding yourself to, look at the word explore. You're just exploring options. It's, to go back to Ms. Chichester's question, it's your first half step. That's all the administration is asking for.
Okay. I think I heard Mr. Davis's voice.
Okay.
Madam President, I'll go after Mr. Davis.
Okay. Okay. So had multiple questions. So my original issue is the issue, because let me make it clear. I want the building to be redone. I want these gentlemen to be back in their place, but I want to make sure that it's done correctly. The original legislation, it wasn't clear. Like, okay, are we expressing our intent to move forward with the mold and asbestos remediation, as well as the rehab. That's what I wasn't clear on. And in regards to this, I asked Ms. Deuce-Dean if we could solicit outside estimates. She said yes. So as a result, then I've solicited estimates from Moody Nolan, WA Architects, Studio 2H Design, and DNK Architects. So those are things that I want to go forward with, which is what inspired me to change the voice, because we want this project to go forward. It just want to be clear about what we're going forward with.
Madam President.
I'll write your name down on my list. Keep going, Mr. Davis. You're good.
Okay. That's
You didn't stop the stove.
I'm sorry. I interrupted your flow.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so next I have Ms. Chichester.
First off, before I begin my rant, let me just say I'm completely disappointed. This gentleman sat up here and they've come to several meetings pleading us to make some decisions. We have not. Even before we got to this point, we set up in the Budget and Finance Committee meeting and we spent over an hour discussing this. And at the end of the meeting, I asked my colleagues, what questions do you need answered to make an informed decision? No matter which way you were leading, what questions have not been answered by administration that you will need to make the decision? And we even encouraged, if you didn't want to ask those questions publicly, to reach out via email. I even said, don't forward them to me, because everyone knows where I stand on the issue. Email them to an impartial party, and that person would answer your questions. Ms. Deuce-Dean, was every question from every email you received answered?
Everyone from council member, but I only received one from Ms. Gaston.
That was going to be my next point. No one else besides Ms. Gaston asked these questions, which I expected, because she wasn't on council or she wasn't attending the meetings back when this started in 2016, 2015. I was there. I have my About My Save the City Center t-shirt. Under 200,000 possibly was the quote in the beginning. Now we're talking millions. It cost, me as a resident understood these numbers then, and I still understand the numbers now. You have to remediate the asbestos no matter what we do. In order to, if you then decide, yes, remediate the mold, it's going to cost double. So why not remediate the mold and the asbestos at the same time for a lower price and then decide what we're doing? And I don't understand why we would just remediate the asbestos when it's a health concern to breathe in that mold and people need to get in there. If we say, yeah, we're going to remediate the asbestos and then we're going to tear it down, these gentlemen still have to go in there and get their things. And it's a health concern to breathe in mold like that that's been growing and growing.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Chichester. I am going to remind my colleagues that we are not required to explain a vote, ever.
Nope.
So I understand that everybody is expressing their frustration. We are not required to tell anybody. I don't have to tell you why I voted no. Maybe I just felt like saying no 5 times today. Yes. I don't have to explain that. Okay, yes. So
I didn't ask for anybody's
I'm not speaking directly about me. I'm just explaining the process, because we all need to understand that. I get it, frustration. I get it,
Madam President.
So the next person's name on my list here is Mayor Nichols.
Thank you, Madam President. I think a lot of what was said was some of the same thoughts and feelings that I have. But I don't even need to remind council that according to the charter, the council is responsible for buildings. So when we talk about intent, we can't, as administration, can't move on any property unless you say go. So I think that's what's part of the frustration that we have. I understand there are some missing pieces with documents. From what I've found since this has gone on, the price has gone up. But earlier on, even before vacating the building, I found that it can be just as costly to tear down the building as it is to, without any grants. Now, there are grants to do that out there. In the same manner, there are grants and things that are available to fix it up. So it can be just as costly to demolish the building as it is to repair it. So we want our DAV, our Women's Legion, our Historical Society to go back into the building, a safe building. That's what we have. So I think we're just looking for intent because, to be honest, it's looking just a little bad that we're just sitting on property and allowing the condition to continue to deteriorate and not move on it. And I know that's not necessarily your intent, not to move on it, but it's been a year.
There's a gentleman in the front row who would like to speak.
My name is Lee Watson, former resident of North College Hill, a little bit down the hill right now. I had three thoughts. The mayor talked about two of them. One is the health and safety concern that Ms. Chichester brought up. There are ordinances, state and county, that require you to stabilize that building.
Yes.
And to remediate asbestos and mold. You cannot remediate one and leave the other behind. So that discussion is over and done with. Mm-hmm. If the state's laws are followed, health and safety, sanitation, building, you have to do both. And there's also a requirement that you stabilize the building. You can't stabilize the building when there's a hole in the roof. So you got to do that too. If you're going to retain the building for any useful purposes, you got to do all three. Mm-hmm. You got to stabilize the building, that takes care of the roof, and you got to remove the asbestos and the mold. The point that the mayor made about the cost of remediation of asbestos, it's the same as the cost to tear the building down and remove the asbestos. And those costs are significant. So any estimate that you do, or any estimate that you should do, must include the cost of tearing that building down to zero. And as the mayor also said, there are funds available to do both. There are state funds, there are county funds. And that research needs to be done if you're going to do it one way or the other. And the last thing is, I'm a life member of DAV, and I've been active in this chapter for the last 8 months, 9 months. And we've been talking about this issue for 9 months within the chapter, even to the point where we're ready to make a decision as to whether or not we're going to invest in getting another building or relocating someplace else. And the whole vote of the chapter is that they want to stay here. Mm-hmm. And that includes my vote as well. So you're going to have to spend the money. And the last thing I want to say, is that three? Architects don't necessarily need to get the job that they do the plans for. I just renovated my house. Absolutely. And I paid separate for the architect. He did not want to be the general contractor. I had to get the general contractor to do it. So people who prepare estimates, just pay them for the estimate.
Absolutely. Okay. Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. Ms. Dukestein.
So I wanted to address Brandon getting estimates. That is encroaching upon administrative's job. Council members should not be getting estimates for a building. one of the estimates that we retrieved for the building is number 3 in the state for asbestos abatement. I think that they would be fitting. I don't know if you have that ability, but that is encroaching upon administration. Whether you, this is not to question and to call your vote, but it does pose, I know the risks, and I'm explaining to you all the risks if we continue to not move. So when people don't move or council members don't vote to move, it becomes frustrating because then we are then taking money and throwing it away. The fact is, period, you do know that it's not getting worse and it's not getting better or fixed. It can only be getting worse, which means more money. And so that is primarily my frustration. And then there is a liability for the city insurance-wise. So that is the urgency in moving towards something, not to chastise or question your vote. It's just literally, this goes back really before a year. We were only coming out of the building a year ago, but the problem persists before that.
Ms. Underwood, if I could,
And I always voted.
Ms. Underwood, if I could, I've been a law director since 2011, and it's funny that you said that because this is what I want to talk about, and you segued right into it. There have been people who have been elected officials in this city, right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not an opinion. I'm just sending facts that were very unhappy with the deal that was done with the school district when we first acquired the building. Then the building needed work, and there were people on council, sometimes having majority, that didn't want to do the work because they were unhappy that we even had the building. And then there was a time when I was criticized very intently because I stood up at the podium and said that it was an asinine decision to only fix half the roof. And some people, and that began a long history of people saying they didn't have confidence in the law director because I said you shouldn't fix half a roof. I don't know where, and that made this problem started because we fixed half a roof. You can't fix half your roof and not consider your building to be not going to leak. So it's just that you all just have to decide what you want to do, because if you want to tear the building down, then let's just tear the building down and move on and build something new, or fix it or do something different. You just all need to decide. And you said it before, like, might make the wrong decision, but let's make a decision. Let's make a decision. You know, we've been caught up in this building, and it's become a political football. And in the meantime, it just costs more money. We don't have people that are in it. So I just ask that you just make a decision at some point, you know, and it'll be on your agenda next meeting, and you'll have to make a decision because it'll be the third reading.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Dieters. I would just like to remind everybody about the quorum, and we shouldn't throw our hands up in the air, and, you know, please. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to move to old business. Okay, hearing none. Is there any new business?
Madam President.
Okay, so I heard two voices. I heard Mrs. Gaston and Mrs. Chichester, so we'll start with Mrs. Gaston.
I would like to make a motion to refund Christian Hedger for the miscellaneous items purchased for the digitalization of council documents. So that's anything between like boxes, whatever it was that was needed to make that Saturday a success. And not to exceed $200.
Madam President,
Mr. Wilson?
I'd like to second.
I have a motion from Ms. Gaston and a second from Mr. Wilson to refund Mr. Hedger for any monies that he spent in order to assist us with the review of the documents, not to exceed $200. Is there any discussion?
Could you make sure you include the lunch?
Well, it's not to exceed $200, so we got that. Mr. Hedger, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Gaston,
Yes.
Ms. Chichester,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
And next we have Mrs. Chichester.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Dieters. You could tell me if this is not legal. I'd like to make a motion to give Ms. Dukestein, our city administrator, power to go ahead and start the cleanup at the 1500 building.
By our charter, you can't do that by motion because it would be expenditure, permanent expenditure of money. So you'd have-
Expenditure, okay. Do
you'd
I
have
need to
do
put
a
an amount on
ordinance
it?
Or a resolution.
Okay.
It has
Sorry.
to, I believe it has to be an ordinance or a resolution.
So when we gave previous administrator power for,
That was not legal.
Research.
oh, that wasn't,
It was not.
I wasn't aware. They didn't tell us.
So,
Yeah, but it was just
a
for
way
research.
a way to address it, and I'm not suggesting you do this, but any 3 council members can sign and call a meeting. And then you can put on the agenda for that meeting the 3rd reading of resolution number 3-2025. It just takes 3 signatures from any 3 council members to call a meeting. I believe the mayor can also call a meeting. And you don't have to wait 2 weeks to the next meeting. Any 3 council members can call a meeting. And once you get those 3 signatures, you put notices, tape a notice to every council member's door. And then that is how you call that meeting. And again, I'm just throwing that information out there. Do we have any other new business?
Madam President,
Mrs. Alexander.
I make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
Madam President,
Mr. Wilson.
I will second.
I have a motion from Mrs. Alexander and a second from Mr. Wilson to adjourn tonight's meeting. Discussion? Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Gaston,
Yes.
Ms. Chichester,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.